We're coming in hot with inspiring guests, witty banter, and colorful commentary for today's veterans and military community. This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
All right, Alphas, thank you for coming back and spending more time with us this week. I hope you're doing great. I hope that your December is just crushing it and you're getting all your hopes and dreams have come true. Maybe you've won the lottery. If so, share it with all of us at Tango Alpha Lima. Somebody else who I'm sure could use an extra $100 million. Matt, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. And I could absolutely use that. Do you get all your Christmas shopping?
Think about all the things you could get. Do you have a particular hobby that you like? Is there anything do you like paint miniature, army guys or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, I play a little bit of video games here and then I play golf when the weather's nice, but December's usually not conducive to that in Maine.
Okay. Yeah. $100 million though, we could heat Maine.
Probably.
Yeah. I think that'd be good. That'd be good. Well, everybody, thank you so much. We got some great interviews lined up, a great interview lined up for you today. But right off the bat, I think, Matt, do you have a story for us here? What do you think?
We really want to talk about, Wreaths Across America coming up and looking to volunteer and honor those who served during Wreaths Across America Day. So a little background, Wreaths Across America was founded in 2007 and its headquarters in Columbia Falls, Maine, near and dear to my heart. Well, best known for its annual wreath laying ceremonies each December, the organization has a year-round mission to remember the fallen, honor those that serve, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. Now in nearly 4,000 communities nationwide, Wreaths Across America volunteers are committed to sharing the mission through education and stories of service and success. For more than 3 decades, the American Legion family members across the nation have joined the annual wreath-laying events across the country. During their 102nd National Convention in Charlotte last August, the American Legion Auxiliary announced the Memorandum of Understanding with Wreaths Across America that will help us build a stronger awareness of each group's common missions while supporting fundraising efforts nationwide. Thousands of auxiliary members have spent the fall pledging to sponsor wreaths for this year's events or signing up to volunteer at their local cemeteries on Wreaths Across America Day. This year, December 16th, will mark the 31st National Wreaths Across America Day. Annually, more than 1 million wreaths are placed across more than 4,000 locations in the United States and throughout the world, honoring veterans buried at those gravesites. American Legion posts and Legion family members participating in this annual program are encouraged to share their wreath-laying stories at Legiontown, the website at legiontown.org. We'll have a link to that and more info about Wreaths Across America as our show. So as well, we can link to. So great opportunity and obviously something pretty cool that we love here in Maine.
I love that. I didn't know that people could post their stories on the Legiontown website. I would love to be able to read some of those. Maybe we can do that in the podcast in the future, where we can just, hey, tell us what the experience was like for you, or if you went to a family member's gravesite and somebody had laid one there. Like, tell us how that felt. I'm sure other people would be interested too. So, yeah, I think that'd be great. All right, everybody. Today we're going to be joined by an awesome guest. His name is Dr. Michael Greger. You may know him as the New York Times bestselling author and internationally recognized expert on public health issues. Very different from my private health issues, which you don't want to be my doctor. 3 of his latest books, How Not to Die, How Not to Die Cookbook, and How Not to Die It, have helped millions adopt healthier habits. And his newest book, How Not to Age, will be out in January, just in time to help us stick to those New Year's resolutions. We'll be back to talk about all this and more with Dr. Greger right after the break.
The American Legion is raising awareness about PTSD and veteran suicide by offering hope, camaraderie, and support.
Be the one to help end veteran suicide.
Be the one to save one veteran.
Be the one to ask a veteran in your life how they're doing.
Be the one to reach out when a veteran is struggling.
Go to betheone.org and help the American Legion end veteran suicide.
Will you Be the one.
All right, Alphas, welcome back. How was your break? I hope that you did something nutritious, as we will talk about today. We're going to go in. I hope you got your shovels. We're going in for a deep dive. Let me just mix some metaphors right there. I'm so excited for our guest today, Dr. Michael Greger. Thank you so much for joining us on Tango Alpha Lima. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. Hope to inspire some of your listeners to live longer, better lives.
Heck yeah, keeping people alive. That's what we're all about. And I know my fantastic co-host, Matt, is here. Matt, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm apparently going to learn how not to die, but that's good.
Hey, yeah, why not? What do you got stuff to do, Matt? You have a life to live.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny from that perspective because a couple of people in my life have been encouraging me to work on these kind of things and do that kind of stuff, and I keep asking them. It's like, you guys want me to live longer for some reason. I'm not sure why, but they do. And so this is kind of a good area. Like, I mean, I'm going to enjoy this conversation, and I guess I'll start with it from saying, like, talk a little bit about your kind of view and look at things as kind of like as food, as even medicine for a lot of us that are working through that, or to live healthy lives and to feel better and live long.
Your friends, it's out of love. That's why they came, right? I mean, it's really right. If they didn't care, they'd be like, no, have another donut, Matt. Yeah, it all really, for me, went back to my grandmother. I was just a kid when she was sent home in a wheelchair to die. Basically, she had end-stage heart disease. Already had so many bypass surgeries, basically run out of plumbing at some point. Confined to a wheelchair, crushing chest pain. Her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers. And what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. It talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in, and she walked out. Though she was given a medical death sentence at age 65, thanks to a healthy diet, was able to enjoy another 31 years on this plan until age 96 to continue to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. That's why I went into medicine, why I practice lifestyle medicine, why I wrote the book How Not to Die, why all the proceeds from all my books are donated directly to charity. I just want to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
Wow, that's huge. So let's break it down. I've seen your book, How Not to Die. First of all, it's not like a pamphlet. That is thick. So what got you into that? What made you say, hey, this book needs to be written?
Well, there's just so much nutritional noise and nonsense these days in kind of the medical space. Just this kind of drowning in a sea of misinformation. And meanwhile, there's a real mountain of evidence in the peer-reviewed literature that just has yet to kind of translate out into the real world here. There's a fellow, Dr. Dean Ornish, followed up on Pritikin's work in 1990, published Lifestyle Heart Trial, proving with something called quantitative angiography that indeed you could reverse heart disease, open up arteries without drugs, without surgery, just a plant-based diet and a healthy lifestyle program. And you're like, look, this was no news to me. I'd seen it with my own eyes and my family, but here it was in black and white, published in some of the most prestigious medical journals in the world, yet nothing happens. I said, wait a second, if effectively the cure to our #1 killer of men and women could effectively get lost down some rabbit hole and ignored, what else might there be in the medical literature that could help my patients, but just didn't have a corporate budget driving its promotion? That's why I decided to do this work, started a website, nutritionfacts.org, and then started writing books, trying to get this information into people's hands so they can do with it what they will.
Yeah. Do you, go ahead, Matt, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, from that perspective of why it gets lost in the sauce for that kind of thing, how do you feel? Like, I kind of feel like sometimes it's like we live in like an instant gratification world, right? Like, where like, hey, I've done this for 2 days and I don't feel better yet. Why isn't this working? Like, how, what kind of things or strategies have you looked at to overcome that, to stay with something like that and give it an opportunity to work more than, give me a pill and make me feel better?
Yeah, we definitely want that magic pill, that magic bullet. There's two factors. One is that immediate gratification, right? I mean, it's just like, oh my God, but it tastes so good, and it tastes good right now, and I'm not going to feel the bad effects, particularly if I'm young enough, for a while now. And so it never kind of, the cost benefit doesn't seem to work. And also, we have to talk about some of the incentives in society. I mean, the worst foods are really the most profitable foods, right? Something like fruits and vegetables is the worst thing to sell. Like, it goes bad, it rots on the shelf, it's perishable. What you want is a snack cake that sits on the shelf for a few weeks, or sell, brown sugar water in a bottle. It's like pure profit, taxpayer subsidized sugar. I mean, it's just like all money. So yes, it's not like the CEO of some of these, soda companies is, wants to just contribute to the childhood obesity epidemic. They need to satisfy the next quarter earnings for the shareholders. And if they don't, if they had some conscience and started selling good, they just get kicked out and replaced by another CEO. The system is just set up to not have ourselves and our family's best interest front of mind. And so, that's why we're never going to see an ad on TV for sweet potatoes at the Super Bowl or something. It's just, there's no brands. You can't patent it. It's like, even a sweet potato grower is not going to put an ad for sweet potatoes because you'll buy their competitors' sweet potatoes. The system is not set up to reward this healthy behavior. I mean, we can go back a half century to the sway of the tobacco industry, right? Where they just had tremendous influence over society. Most doctors were smoking. Average per capita cigarette consumption was in the thousands. Average person walking around smoked half pack of cigarette a day. And even then, we had decades of science condemning smoking links to lung cancer, but it was normal. Everybody did it. And so it wasn't until 1964 with the first Surgeon General's report did finally smoking rates start to come down, and then lung cancer rates plummeted after that. One of our greatest public health victories. And we're kind of in the same situation today, where we have this mountain of evidence implicating some of the things that we're eating, but it's just the powers that be have not yet come out and said, look, this isn't good for you, just because there's so much money here in the Beltway, these special interests trying to prop up some of these most profitable foods.
Yes. I agree in part, disagree in part. 5 years ago, nobody knew what a cauliflower steak was. There is a cauliflower lobby. That's, I swear to God.
Big cauliflower, man. There.
Cauliflower.
I know. It's just the billboards and the all day long. You can't get, I know.
I went to Florida. I had a show down there, and I ordered a cauliflower steak, and the waiter looked at me and he goes, that's not meat, right? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I do. So piggybacking on that, do you get pushback or threats from people that are profiting off of, people dying?
I've yet to be found dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yet.
But I get a lot of pushback. Most of the pushback I get is not so much on the science, but on compliance. My fellow medical colleagues, no one can doubt the science. I mean, this is really some of the best studies ever done. But, it's like, look, I can't even get my patients to stop smoking cigarettes. There's no way they're going to, eat fewer cheeseburgers or something. And that may absolutely be true, but it's not their decision to make. It's the patient's decision. It's their body, their choice, right? If they want to go bungee jumping and smoke cigarettes and disconnect the smoke alarms in their house, not wear their seatbelt, look, that's up to them, right? But, we're responsible for the kind of predictable consequences of our actions. And so that's what physicians should do, is just share that information, and then it's up to the patients. But by withholding that information, this kind of patronizing attitude is, oh, I know you wouldn't care enough about your health or your family's health to, to actually do something. So let me just write you a prescription. That may be true in many cases, perhaps even most cases, but you should give the patient all the information. Say, okay, you go this direction. Here's the pros and cons. You could also do this. Here's the pros and cons, and let people make up their own mind.
Yeah. With the past, I don't know what the past six months or so, when the Ozempic, I don't know, I'll call it a crisis, came about. As soon as they started talking about it, it reminded me of back, I remember my parents taking Hydrocut.
Yeah,
It was like
Hydroxycut.
Hydroxycut. Yeah. And then everybody was just like coked out all the time until the FDA said, no, no more. Everybody was skinny and just shaking with rage. So as soon as I saw the Ozempic stuff come out, I was like, this can't be good. If this is for a specific thing and people are using it for something else, and then sure enough, now you're seeing all these side effects and people that are suicidal and having heart issues.
The original diet drugs were amphetamines. I don't know if you remember back in the day, where there were just these pill mills where they're doing thousands of prescriptions for amphetamines. And yes, it can help you lose weight, but yes, the history is littered with these diet miracle drugs, which were then withdrawn from the market for side effects that didn't occur until we had enough people taking them in the long term. So one could certainly argue that the ravages of obesity are serious enough that even something as serious as bariatric surgery, this weight loss surgery, even though that's a risky surgery, yeah, but if you are unwilling or unable to correct your obesity by treating the cause, what we eat, then you could argue actually the benefits would outweigh the risk, and so you could have a pretty toxic drug and still argue because obesity cuts lives so short that you could argue. But I mean, ideally, we'd really go for the best of both worlds. Using diet and exercise to improve not only our waistlines, but have all these positive benefits. You have a lot of side effects, but they're all good side effects. Oh, it decreases your risk of diabetes and osteoarthritis and heart disease, etc. on down the list. So that really should be the first line, second line, third line, et cetera, et cetera. And these drugs and surgeries really should be of last resort.
Yeah, agreed. Matt, what do you think?
I think it's funny. I had a little flashback there. You were talking about, hydroxycut and stuff like that. My early days in the Army, like that was a thing. Like, people using that to either, make weight, get hyped up for a run or a ruck march or whatever else because of those kind of things, until some people had some really serious outcomes, even in the military with that, which is what led the military to kind of ban it as well, was first some people having some real serious heart issues around some of that stuff and prolonged use and those kind of things. But I go back to, I think, a couple things on what you mentioned, right? Like, from a physician perspective, it's like, you don't always have, I think, the time, right, to have those really robust and deep conversations with patients, right? So sometimes it's just, either, okay, here, take this, make you feel better, you leave happy. Or if you live in a, a customer centric or a patient centric area where you're getting review on your doctor and did my doctor give me what I wanted kind of things, like all that kind of stuff, it kind of, to your point about a little bit of certain systems and stuff, like disincentivizing having those deeper conversations and working through. But with that, like, what would you say would be like the number one thing, if you could change one thing or remove one thing around that for someone to work on? Like, what kind of thing would you recommend to a patient in that quick 5-minute window that they'll be happy with, that says that maybe I can?
Right. And look, part of it, frankly, is just ignorance. I mean, many doctors are just not taught about the power that nutrition can have over the course of illness. And so they graduate without this powerful tool in their medical toolbox. And so we need to be doing better job at medical education as well. But in a short time, you can offer, what can you offer people? And so first of all, we shouldn't just accept that doctors should only have 10 minutes, right? We're talking about the health and well-being of people, right? So let's not just assume that, there aren't institutional changes that need to take place as well. But within the current constraints, what we can do is share resources with people. And so there's some wonderful resources out now there. One of my favorites that I've used in my patient population is some called the 21 Day Kickstart. It's at 21daykickstart.org. It's run by a nonprofit out of Washington, D.C. It starts at the first of every month. It's completely free. Hundreds of thousands of people have done it. It's a bunch of different languages. And basically you sign up as part of this like tight social media group. And you get daily recipes and advice, blah, blah, blah. And the goal is jump in full for 21 days, basically arguing, look, it's like an experiment. Let's just give it a try, right? You could eat anything for 20 days. You could eat nothing for 20 days. Let's go all in and just see how you feel. Now, as a physician, I have the additional advantage of being able to take labs before and after, so I can really show the dramatic objective changes. But what you often see in these patients is that even within 3 weeks, they feel so much better. They have better energy, better digestion. They're sleeping better, less painful periods, whatever it is, such that by the end of those 3 weeks, it's their own body telling them that this is the way to eat and live. And so then it's no longer kind of a doctor wagging their finger in their face. It's really their own body. And so, but you don't know how good you're going to feel until you give it a try. So that's the kind of thing where it just can invite people. People have a hard time wrapping their head around kind of long-term, like, what? I'm not going to have pepperoni pizza for no, just for 3 weeks. Come on, give me 3 weeks. Let's try it for 3. And then, and so I think that's an approachable way to get it. And then they have more information, right? Then they okay, this was actually not as hard as I thought, and the food wasn't as bad as I thought, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. That's something that I actually experienced a little bit too. Is my significant other works at a holistic health practice, and they do a lot of those kind of things. And I think the one we did was like, it was a 3-week deal like that, or a 30-day deal. But it was based on like I think a pancreatic diet type thing, where it was like you removed a lot of stuff and then you slowly reintroduce stuff to see how you would react. But it was a whole thing. But by the time we were done, right, besides losing weight and just having more energy and stuff like that, so many of those things through that 3-week period, which you would say is that's some time to adjust behavior, create a new habit as well. A lot of those things are now embedded in our everyday. Like, it's not all the time 100% pure, but for the most part, that a lot of those things are embedded in our diets and our lifestyle, which really help change things.
Fantastic. No, that's perfect, right? And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's not black or white. We can pick and choose what works for us, what doesn't. That's one of the most amazing things I learned in my research, is that, like the lifestyle heart trial, for example, this reversal of heart disease, these were people in their 60s. So they had 60 years of eating garbage, right? And then all of a sudden, within a matter of months, we're able to reverse their course of disease. So it's never too late to start eating healthier, never too late to start moving, never too late to stop smoking, right? We really do have the power.
I love all this stuff. I've always been super interested in it. Have you gone way back and seen all the crazy diets that we've had? I know there's one that was a pure alcohol diet. Like, you just, I'll call that the drink yourself to death diet. It was only alcohol. And then the Kellogg's, what still exists today, what the Kellogg's did back in the 1800s, the creation of cornflakes through his sanatorium.
Yeah. Well, the original the original Dr. Kellogg, unfortunately, his brother took over the company. There's a big family split, because the original, Kellogg was doing it for health, really wanted to give people a healthy breakfast, right? Came up with this cornflake idea. The brother wanted to add sugar, and he was like, no way, the whole point. And we can all guess which side of the family won out. But that was, although Kellogg's, part of it was health, longevity, but he also had these weird religious convictions about inflaming one's animal passions and making, and he thought cornflakes would get people to masturbate less. He had these weird ideas, but
and they do for me.
There was definitely some good ideas there. Unfortunately, it got taken over by people that then started putting Day-Glo marshmallows in it.
Right. And so the way that things, and also the way that things have happened, like there was it Reagan that subsidized corn in such a way so that it started being put in everything.
Oh, well, yeah. Every single administration, the subsidizing the food industry is one thing politicians can all get behind. And right, but what are we subsidizing? Right? Are we subsidizing fruits and vegetables? Are we making apples cheaper for everyone? No, we're making sugar cheaper, and we're making corn and soy cheaper so we can have dollar menu burgers. It's mostly just used as feed crops. And in the corn, it goes to make corn syrup, right? So we're enabling these ultra processed foods to get cheaper and cheaper. And so then who has the worst public health statistics? The people can't afford healthier foods. If we're going to subsidize, now you can argue we shouldn't, taxpayer money shouldn't be going to these food corporations at all. But if it is, why don't we make the healthiest food cheaper? And unfortunately, that's not how DC works.
It's It's also interesting to me the way that one decision, like we still have cornflakes. I'm allergic to corn, so I'm I'm anti-corn. I didn't know too. I worked in a movie theater and I used to eat like buttered popcorn. I got it for free, and I was like, why can't I breathe? I'd have to take Benadryl after it, and it was just like my face was breaking out. So it won't kill me, but I had to give it up. That and rye.
It wasn't the artificial butter flavor. It was actually the corn.
Yeah, because every once in a while I'll come back to it, and I'll be like, maybe I could just have plain popcorn.
Right.
And like, oh no, this is
all right. It was good to know. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine some people, with similar kind of food insensitivities going their whole lives, and not because something like corn is so ubiquitous. Yeah. That they could be having, reactions every single day. There's other foods that have a delayed reaction. So there's one of the craziest things is a rash you get from eating undercooked shiitake mushrooms. It's called the flagellate rash. It looks like you've been whipped. I mean, it's absolutely wild, but it starts 3 weeks after you eat them. And so people go for their whole lives breaking on this wet, and they have no idea because they don't make the connection, right? And so that's why something like that elimination diet, the fancy, pancreatic diet, if you have one of these, something like fibromyalgia or something, you're just not feeling great, doctors can't figure out what it is, then doing one of these elimination diets, which can be tough at the beginning because, you're eating basically like water, tapioca, sweet potatoes, things that like no one react to. And then you start adding things back in, you have to do it slow, or you got to start over again, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a pain, but imagine if you found like, it was like one thing, oh my God, nightshade vegetables or something. And all you had to do is just like not eat green peppers, and all of a sudden you feel better the whole rest of your life. I mean, that's amazing, right? So so in some cases it's worth giving it a try, even if it takes a few weeks.
Yeah. And there's whole crazy things with mushrooms too. If you Google like mushrooms and like the secret society of the like the mob runs mushroom farming, like
I did not know that.
There's all kinds of crazy rabbit holes that the internet can take you down that God knows if they're true or not. One of the there's a guy that I follow on Instagram, his name's Brian Johnson, and he's trying to reverse aging.
Oh right, yeah.
He's super interesting. Like he takes his blood, takes his kid's blood, injects it into him. He's taken his blood, injected into his dad, and they said that when he injected his blood or took his kid's blood, nothing happened, but when he gave his dad blood, it reversed him to like 17 years according to the blood work. He looks like a robot, and he only eats twice a day. There's all kinds of interesting pieces to it, but
strictly plant-based. Yeah, it's very interesting. But so if anyone who has a couple $1 million laying around, nothing to do with it, and you love and you just have some blood thing, well then you be you.
Yeah, you go for it. You could put yourself in a light tank for 3 days. And wait, Matt, would you do that? Would you inject somebody with your child's blood into you if it didn't turn you into a vampire? No.
I've been stuck enough with needles in my lifetime and stuck in other people. I really am not going to do it anymore for fun from that perspective. But yeah, there's just something odd and weird and borderline creepy for me for that. I guess if it really showed a lot of positive things, I guess you could get over that kind of thing, but I don't think it's going to be a mainstay that I have to worry about that. But
now that we're finding more about the role the microbiome, these good gut bugs can have, there's actually been these fecal transplant studies between older and younger individuals to prove a causal role of these gut bugs in certain factors of aging. So rather than bathing in the blood of virgins, just dining on the dung of the venerable may be very much the way to do it.
Why not do both, doctor?
Why? False dichotomy. I hear you.
I have to share one now. Okay, so you met like microbiome. Right. Like that's 100% a thing, and at the practice that I go to, it's a ritual we all go through that you need to poop in the French fry container in order to get your microbiome tested. It's the catcher that they use for it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Funny joke of like, did you?
You don't have to deep fry.
Like that's the code for have you taken the test? I'm like, oh God. So it's like a running joke around that. But the bring that back to say where you're short or what probiotics or prebiotics or things like that can help supplement what you've lost can be really, really helpful. And it's been really, really helpful for me
good.
to work through that. But then also the understanding of all that other stuff, whether it's the food, the processed food, whether it's other medicines that you're taking that just kill off so many of those, and then how much of even food intolerances or whatever else are not necessarily because you're allergic necessarily all the time, but could it be that you've eliminated all of the microbes that are designed to deal with that, and so you're having a reaction, right? And you think about the glutens and all the other kind of things like that, like how do those tie back together? So any kind of other expound upon or any of the biome stuff would be a much appreciated.
No, absolutely. I mean, we know the role. I mean, that may be one of the reasons why allergies have been increasing, is because of things that are kind of negative to the microbiome, like cesarean sections. They don't get the natural vaginal flora. They're not breastfed. We give antibiotics to kids like candy. It's a lot of things that are kind of detrimental to the microbiome. And you can actually prove cause and effect by, you can make a rodent in a lab allergic to milk by feeding them from a diaper of a baby that's allergic to milk. So we know that it's a microbiome mediated effect. And the question is, well, how do we improve the health of our microbiome? Because it's not just, we used to think it had to do with intestinal health, but now we know that these good bugs produce these so-called postbiotics, produce these byproducts that are then absorbed through the colon wall into our bloodstream, circulate throughout our body, even go past the blood-brain barrier, can affect our mental health, can affect our immunity, can affect our appetite. And so we can boost these good bugs are the fiber feeders like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus. And so we eat these prebiotics, what feeds the good bacteria. And so that's predominantly found in whole grains and legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. All whole plant foods have a lot of fiber, but fruits and vegetables are mostly water. And so some of these drier plant foods, we get that fiber, and that keeps our gut bugs happy. And that can have, implications on down the road.
I was just going to jump at it.
What did you?
Yeah, go ahead. So I was just saying that's real. We hit the two different things, like from an IBS and from a fibromyalgia perspective.
Oh, great.
I feel, all those kind of things have definitely kicked in and made an impact on that perspective.
I love it.
No way, it works. Look at that. Matt says it works. I believe it.
I'm still here.
Well, you're still kicking, still going to the bathroom in that French fry bucket, but you've been arrested for that too many times. One of the interesting, I love the data points that I can get on my body. I have one of these Aura rings.
Oh yeah.
And what I've had it for about 2.5 years. What it's taught me is how hard your body and your heart works when it comes to digesting food. So if I eat past 7 p.m., I have a running streak. I've ran every day for 8.5 years. Great. So it has lowered my heart rate to 49, 50 beats.
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Thank you. And if I eat past 7 p.m., it will go up a good 8 points regularly. And even more so than if I drank alcohol. So alcohol and eating late at night seem to be really put stress on your heart. Would you agree?
It's because of the circadian rhythms. So eating the exact same meal earlier in the day would not have that effect. So that's why I encourage people not to eat after 7 p.m. So the exact same food, the exact same calories is more fattening in the evening than it is in the morning, has a higher blood sugar spike, more triglycerides in the blood. So yeah, if you're going to eat something bad for you, eat it in the morning. Actually, your body's better able to handle it. Or, and that's part of this kind of time restricted feeding paradigm where people try to restrict their feeding windows to 12 hours or less, but critically important is that we want early time restricted feeding where we're trying to push more calories towards the morning rather than evening. If we're going to skip any meal, we skip dinner, not breakfast, for metabolic health.
I can totally see that. I can see it just in how as if I have several days where my heart rate has been up late at night, I can start to feel it in my chest. Like you can just you feel stressed. It could just also be the app sending me things that are like, hey, you need to chill out. And it's so funny to complain about. Even 58 beats per minute is not terribly high.
No, it's impressive. Yeah, we all want to shoot for less than 1 second. So yeah, shoot for 60. Is most associated with longevity. Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Your heart is so powerful. It's so healthy. It can beat that few many times and circulate through your whole body. Yeah, we should all be shooting for that. That's great.
All right, good. Yeah, people can. The running thing has been
an obsession. Running helps. Unfortunately, I got to run. Speaking of running,
he's got to run.
I got to run to my next. So sorry. Thank you so much.
No, we'll see. We'll see you then soon. Then we'll tell everybody where to find you after this. Then
keep up the great work.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, doctor. The doctor had to run. He said he had the runs. He had to go. No, don't come after me, doctor. He's the author of Bird Flu, a virus of our own hatching, Carbophobia, the scary truth behind America's low carb craze, How Not to Die Cookbook, How Not to Diet. If you want to find him, go to nutritionfacts.org. How did he get that website? That feels like that should be a government website. But I applaud him. Nutrition_facts. Check him out. Maybe we'll have him back. He's a good guest. All right, Alphas, we'll be here right after the break.
To look out for those that served, we must be relentless. To influence Washington to do the right thing, not just for our veterans, but for the country, we must be organized. To inspire the next generation of leaders, we must be united. We must be Legion, the American Legion. Join today at legion.org/join.
Welcome back, Alphas. I hope you had a great break. I hope that you had some Kellogg's, maybe you had some cornflakes, maybe you went to the bathroom in a French fry container like my co-host did. I'm going to do it. I'm into it. What did you think of Dr. Greger?
I thought it was great. I mean, the whole roundabout, looking at the whole picture, obviously some things that I could connect with. But yeah, the one thing I really take away is the part you brought up about just the heart rate and the food. And I hadn't probably ever put that connection or just didn't have an awareness of that, about the eating after a certain time of the drinking or monitoring the heart rate to that, or even what a real target should be looking at. So it's something that, I'll probably look at trying to add in or do better at. Just try to do your best every day and be a little better every day with it, I guess.
Yeah, with this Oura, it's called OURA, the Oura Ring. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but just being able to see it, I'll wake up and I'll go, oh, I wonder how I slept. And then you can see it go down or up depending on what did your body have to do to keep all your blood pumping. And just how, like, I only have one heart. So I probably shouldn't overstress it as much as possible. And you think about it, if you're just digesting a steak or, donuts or whatever, into like 2 o'clock in the morning, it's going to also affect your sleep. It means that your resting heart rate can't go lower. And the more that you see the data, I think the more you're able to go, oh, okay, maybe if I change this little, maybe I eat the donuts at 6 p.m. instead of 7,
Yeah, if you need to have your donut, just make sure you do it at the right time. The other big thing I heard about that is chicken and waffles. Just do it in the morning, not at night.
Do it in the morning, yeah.
Have that bad meal in the morning.
It does explain pancakes, right? Like, why do we eat sugary things? Well, maybe people back in the day had it going on. I don't know. Things to look into. Definitely, everybody go Google the Kellogg Corporation and see where they started out, because it is a super interesting, creepy story. There's some creepy parts. Alphas, now we are into my favorite segment, which is rapid fire. We've got some awesome stories. Matt, you want to take the first one?
Sure. So in this one, the Air Force is issuing protective eyewear as laser pointer incidents surge. That's an interesting one. But from the Air Force Times, the U.S. Air Force will roll out thousands of specialized spectacles to airmen around the globe to protect eyes from laser and shrapnel. The gear aims to limit the potential risks to pilots and other aircrew amid recent spike in lasing incidents. It's also the first time the Air Force issued eyewear is designed to block lasers as well as ballistic threats. Getting lasered without having proper protection could not only prevent the pilot from flying and landing the aircraft safely, but it could also cost them their career, Captain Pete Coates, who leads the eyewear initiative at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, said in the release. When a laser pointer's beam hits an aircraft windshield or an eyeball itself, the light can cause flash blindness that is particularly dangerous for troops that are taking off or preparing to land, according to the Air Force Safety Center. Preventing those disruptions can save lives in the air and on the ground. The service plans to distribute more than 42,000 pairs of the glasses and visors to its units over the next 3 years. The Federal Aviation Administration has logged more than 10,300 lasing incidents and 28 injuries so far in 2023, surpassing the nearly 9,500 events that were reported in 2022. Airmen most often reported laser incidents in Florida, New Mexico, and Texas within the continental United States, and in undisclosed locations overseas between October 2016 and December 2022, according to the data collected by the Air Force Safety Center. The service recorded nearly 550 incidents around the world within that time period. Aiming a laser pointer at an aircraft is a federal crime, punishable by as many as 5 years in prison and up to $280,800 in fines. The Air Force Office of Special Investigations asked anyone with knowledge of lasing incident to report to the FAA or to the Air Force. And these are not harmless pranks, the agency said. So what do you think? You going to go out with your laser later and from Texas or no?
No, because Air Force pilots are not kittens. No, you don't need to take lasers and trying to get them to go places. Anybody who is doing this, I want you to know, we will find you. This is what a ridiculous thing to do. If you are pointing lasers at airplanes, look, can you hear the police are coming? They're outside. They're coming for you right now. If you are pointing lasers at airplanes, I want you to go jump into the sea, cover yourself with sand and have a good think. You're a bad person. It's a terrible thing to do. Why would you blind somebody when they're in charge of a massive aircraft? And I don't understand the ballistic piece. I got to talk to I have a degree in aviation safety, which is ridiculous in and of itself. I grew up around helicopters. Both my parents were helicopter mechanics. One of the big things was shining those laser pointers in the pilot's eyes. How about you get a job, Steve? Get a job, okay? Get out of here. I can't have. And also, it's also a little bit ridiculous. The fine is $280,000 and $800. Like, just put 76 cents on it, government. Well, why is it such a weird number? Like, your fine will be $99.99. It's ridiculous. I'm putting you out. I will find you.
There's probably some federal max or threshold that they had to stay under, so it didn't go to the next level of approval. So let's add the $800 on just cause. But to your point, like who does these things? I mean, I did read that like a lot of them were in Florida. So I mean, but who does?
In New Mexico, yeah. They think it's aliens. They're like, let's bring the aliens down. No, stop it.
That's not a UFO. It's an F-35. It's okay.
Get a Netflix subscription. I've had enough. All right, rapid fire number 2. That was not a laser. The Navy stands up sailor quality of life reforms in Newport News shipyard. This is from the Navy Times. The Navy is executing quality of life reforms for sailors at shipyards following a series of suicides aboard the aircraft carrier George Washington. But there is still a lot more work to be done, Navy officials say. Included in the changes are expanding healthcare and Wi-Fi access for sailors, guaranteed off-ship and off-shipyard housing, and consolidated parking, according to Admiral Scotty Gray, the Navy's Quality of Service cross-functional team lead. Our research has confirmed the obvious, something we all knew. Nobody joins the Navy to conduct years of important industrial maintenance, Gray told reporters Monday. It's unsatisfying and undercuts their interest in the service. The George Washington, which suffered 3 deaths by suicide over the course of 6 days in April 2022, started undergoing its midlife refueling and complex overhaul, or OCOH, at Huntington Ingalls Industries Newport News shipyard in August 2017. But the work took far longer than originally envisioned, and some sailors were made to live on the ship while it was essentially a sprawling construction zone. While an investigation released in December 2022 determined that the suicides were not related, the report also revealed the nature of the challenging work environment at Newport News Shipbuilding and how it had negatively affected sailors. Furthermore, a separate quality of life investigation released in May recommended nearly 50 changes to alter mental health resources, improve parking options, and other basic amenities in the yards, among other things. To tackle these issues, then Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Michael Gilday and Secretary of the Navy Carlos Del Toro ordered in May the creation of a team to establish various standards for quality of service at Newport News Shipbuilding, which could then expand to the entire fleet. In the past 6 months, the team has ensured sailors have housing options offsite, updated housing and recreational buildings, while guaranteeing that sailors have access to healthy food options within 20 minutes of their living and working facilities. Additionally, the task force is also forging ahead on improving Wi-Fi connectivity and has already provided sailors free, high-speed Wi-Fi aboard the aircraft carrier John S. Stennis berthing barge as it undergoes its RCOH. A pilot program set to begin next year will evaluate the feasibility of increasing Wi-Fi across the waterfront and eventually to the whole service, Gray said. We're doing this pilot to make sure that we're getting our money's worth, that the sailors appreciate and are using that service, Gray said. We will learn from that pilot, and then the intention is what we've learned, make some adjustments, and roll it out Navy-wide so that we can ensure that we get it right. The team has also cut down on average wait times for standard medical appointments at Newport News Shipbuilding and introduced primary and women's care to the shipyard as well. I feel good about what we've initially done. It's a tremendous amount of work that remains to be done, Gray said. The effectiveness of it will play out over time, but I feel confident that the things that we're doing will begin to make a difference. What do you think?
Honestly, I'm kind of speechless. Like, how do we not have Wi-Fi, right, in some of these areas for people in today's day and world? How are we operating that? And how are we not thinking through that? Like, you know, you're going through an overhaul of your ship or whatever else. Like, I've been in areas where they're renovating barracks on an army base. Like, you move out while they renovate. You don't live there while that's going on. You know, in here we see a little bit in Maine. So we have Bath Iron Works here, and as crews are coming in, do their sea trials and other things like that, they live in what used to be Brunswick Naval Air Station base housing. They interact with us. We have at least a good healthcare system here through Martins Point that all kind of works through them. But you know, and that helps support them with their MWR stuff. So it's probably a smaller scale as they're being built as opposed to being renovated. But yeah, I just mind blowing that we didn't have a good plan for that. And that now we're just thinking about.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm glad that they're working through it. You know, the thing with suicides is they're contagious. That's what they actually say, that when one happens, you do a stand down to make sure that another one doesn't happen. That's a fact that blows my mind every time. So I'm glad that they're thinking about it and they're starting to take care of people. So that's great. And just a reminder for everybody, service members and veterans experiencing a mental health emergency can call 988 and select option 1 to speak with a VA staffer. Veterans, troops, or their family members can also text 838-255 or visit veteranscrisisline.net for assistance. I have directed people to that program. It works, and you can use it in conjunction with your therapist or psychologist or whoever you got. So if you need it, use it. Don't be shy, please. Okay, Matt, you got anything left that you want to leave everybody with, or left it all on the table today?
No, I think most of it. The only thing I'll just add on to what we just talked about a little bit is, and I appreciate you giving out the 98 number, but it just tied into our stuff too with Be the One. If you live near a military base or you live near one of these shipyards, follow that same process and check on our active duty folks too. I mean, we are starting up our base visits as well for quality of life through, you know, our national security pillar and things like that. But if you're in an area and you're seeing, like, ask them how things are going, find out what's going on, and bring these things to light before they end in something tragic like this, where we're having to read these news stories.
Yeah, check on everybody. You got guardsmen in your area, you got reservists, you got active duty, anybody and everybody. Talk to them, see how they're doing. Be the one. That's what we're all about. All right, everybody, don't forget to subscribe to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you consume podcasts. Leave us a review. Please give us 5-star rating. If you can't, really, this will be exhausting for me, but I'm going to have to change your eyeglass prescription once a week. I'm going to make them slightly weaker. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to make them slightly stronger so that you think that your eyes are getting worse, and then you think that they're amazing. And eventually you'll go to your eye doctor and they're like, no, there's nothing wrong. You're probably going to have to go see a neurologist because I don't even know why you're here. Your eyes are fine. They haven't changed in 17 years, Stan. And it's going to be a problem. It's going to cost you a lot in eyeglasses. So just 5 stars, it would be a lot easier. Then none of us would have to go through that. If you have a guest recommendation, go to legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima. Click on the suggest a guest link. I want to talk to him. Matt wants to talk to him. We all want to talk to everybody you want to talk to. And I want to see you again right here next week. Thanks so much for joining us. Goodbye.